Hello and welcome to Tech Deal's first boot and Windows update of this Acer Aspire E15 laptop computer. I've previously reviewed this computer, link in the description below. What is this video? Why should you watch? Whenever you get a new computer, the first thing you should not do is immediately log into Windows, log into your email, go into Facebook, go into your online banking and start using it. It doesn't matter whether it's new, used, or refurbished. You want to make sure that Windows is fully up to date through Windows Update. You want to make sure that your drivers are up to date. You want to make sure that Windows Defender is running and that your antivirus and anti-malware definitions are up to date. Now, if you already know how to do all this, well, then you may not need to watch this video. I will follow this video up with another with Windows General Performance as well as Gaming Performance, and those videos will be linked in the description below, so if you don't want to see the first boot, go check those out. But if you've never really thought about what to do when you first get a computer, this is definitely something you should at least pay attention to once, because too many people just immediately turn their computer on and start using it without thinking about security at all. Now, I've got the computer hooked up to these larger monitors to make it easier for you to see what's going on. I've got an HDMI cable coming out plugged into them so that it'll be on both screens. If you look here, there's also a white cable. I have it connected to my local network. This laptop has wireless. You can have it connected that way. The benefit of having it connected is it will check for critical updates before it even boots the first time to make sure that it's up to date and secure. So I'm going to press the power button and let it start booting. I mentioned I've previously reviewed this computer. I have. A link to that is in the description below. This is a great $550 laptop. If you came across this video and haven't seen any of the others, I highly recommend you check it out. Intel i5 processor, full HD 1080p screen, solid state. Drive is included in this, 8 gigs of RAM. It's a fully loaded laptop for $550. I love this machine. It's great. Now we press the button and wow, look, it's already booted up. You see how fast that is. Solid state drive at work there. The very first screen that you see when you turn the computer on is simply what is your country, what is your language, and what time zone are you in. Well, I am in the Central Time Zone, so I will select Central US Time. Of course, set it to whatever you need. Hit Next. Here's the legal stuff. This is basically the end user license agreement. You have no choice but to hit Accept. Get going fast. Now, I'm not going to go through every one of these screens because it takes a while, but let me just give you this. Windows 10 has a lot of new features that are both good and a concern to some people. It has a lot of what many people call phoning home features, a lot of telemetry, information about how Windows is working gets sent back to Microsoft. Now, the benefit is this helps them make Windows 10 better. It helps them figure out what problems may be in Windows to improve future versions. It also helps them figure out where the vulnerabilities in Windows are so that they can better squash open vulnerabilities against hackers who want to steal your information. The downside is it gives Microsoft a lot of information about what your computer is doing. Do you care? That's a personal decision. I will do another video talking about this in detail. I personally click Use Express Settings, which is down here in the right-hand corner. There is a Customize Settings button if you want to look at it more in the far left corner, and of course very small print because Microsoft wants you to leave it all turned on. I'll hit Use Express Settings. There are a couple of, there's two basically different levels of things in there. One is the tell Microsoft how Windows is working, what isn't working, and how to make Windows better. And then there's the track what you do so they can sell it to advertisers. So there's two sets of information in there. Sign in with Microsoft. If you do hit Express Settings or don't and do Customize, you move past those screens, you come to this. There are two ways to log into Windows 10. The first is to use a Microsoft account. Now, if you don't know what a Microsoft account is, or you've never set one up, or you've never heard of that, briefly, Microsoft now offers, and not just in 10, they offered this in Windows 8 as well. This has been around a couple years. They offer the ability to use an email address or a phone number, it does not have to be with Microsoft, to basically identify you as a person to Microsoft so that when you move from computer to computer, your settings, your data, OneDrive, Cortana, the Windows App Store can follow you around and you have access to your information, your apps, wherever you go. That can be convenient. If you use several machines, it basically keeps them in sync and shares settings between them. Again, this requires that some of your information be stored with Microsoft. If you are a parent, the other benefit to a Microsoft account is that there's something called Family Safety, which has been improved in Windows 10, which allows you to create child accounts for your children if they're under 13 years old, you have control of them and you can access their accounts through your own login and see everything that they're doing, what programs they're trying to run. You can block websites, restrict hours of use of the computer, etc. So they get their own login, they get their own password, but you ultimately, as the parent, have control. To do that, you have to have a Microsoft account. If you don't want to do that, if you want the old way of doing it with a local account, no problem. If you look on the screen down at the bottom, it says skip this step. That will give you the local account login, personal preference. Now, I use Microsoft accounts because I have a bunch of computers and having them all synced up is so convenient. Since this is a test computer, I am going to click skip this step because I don't want to set all that stuff up for a test machine. Who's going to use this PC? Tech Deals. Generally, you should use a password. I'm not, because I'm going to be rebooting this 37 times standing up here and I don't want to mess with it. So I'm just going to hit enter with no password. Again, my needs for a test machine that I'm doing videos of is a little bit different than what you would personally use, which is why I'm using a local account with no password. Hi, we're happy you're here. Isn't it friendly? Windows 10 is so much more friendly compared to older versions of Windows. Lots of great features. If you've been using Windows for many, many years, if you remember the old days of Windows 95, Windows 90, or a gasp, Windows 3.1, you know what I'm talking about. Even Windows XP, installing that off of disks or trying to figure out how to make the drivers work or needing driver disks, and that was a different time. This has gotten so much simpler. I give Microsoft credit for finally making Windows, I don't want to say foolproof, but much, much easier to use. I'm very happy with Windows 10. I know not everybody is, that's fine. I was happy with Windows 7. Didn't like 8 very much. I used it on 1 or 2 machines. 10 is kind of 7 improved. So what it's doing here is it is setting up the first batch of apps and initializing it for this computer. An image of Windows is installed on the drive when you buy a computer, and when they're new like this, it has to go through an initial setup phase. This would take much longer if it was on a hard drive. It may, depending on what version. I haven't done this this is my first take on this computer, so I don't know. Oh, okay, let's start. Sometimes it comes up and says getting critical updates if the version of Windows is too old, and it will actually do a reboot before it goes to the desktop. NVidia GPU activity, none. Okay, fair enough. This computer does have a dedicated graphics card. Now, it's an entry-level card, but it is better than the integrated graphics. And for $550, it's very rare at that price point to get a dedicated graphics card. That's pretty cool. Oh, updates are already being installed. OneDrive's being updated to the latest version. Briefly, the way the dedicated graphics chip works is it only turns on when you're playing a game or doing something that needs the power. Otherwise, the machine actually runs on the integrated graphics, which uses less power. It makes your battery last longer. Cool, so you get the best of both worlds. Long battery life on integrated graphics when you're just in Windows, but if you want to turn a game on, the dedicated graphics card will switch on, take over, and give you the performance you need. So we're in Windows. Don't log into your email just yet. The very first thing you should do is go to Start, Settings, and you are looking on the bottom on the right-hand side for Update and Security. Now, please note, you only have to really do this one time. After this, Windows will keep itself up to date as you use your machine. It will update in the middle of the night or when you're not using your machine. So long as it's plugged into power, it'll keep itself up to date. But we're going to click Check for Updates. And the reason is this isn't up to date because it was in a box sitting in Amazon for possibly months. And between the time this was manufactured and the time it arrived here, easily could be months. And as you can see, there's many updates to be installed. Definition updates for Windows Defender. Windows Defender is the built-in antivirus and anti-malware security in Windows. You no longer have to go out and buy a program like Norton Antivirus or McAfee Antivirus in order to protect your machine. Microsoft includes that built in. You can, if you personally just prefer the interface or the features or want a third-party program, knock yourself out. For many, many years, I used Norton Antivirus all the way up through Windows 8. I have been a loyal Norton Antivirus user for many, many years. With 10, I decided not to bother. I consider Windows Defender to fall into the good enough category. I don't visit, shady websites, not intentionally. And there's a new feature in Windows 10 called Safe Screen. Essentially, one of the privacy features of Windows that you can turn off, but I don't recommend, is that Microsoft maintains an ever-updated list of malicious and what I call trickery websites that are trying to trick you into giving up your personal information. As an example, let's say that you want to go to Microsoft.com. That's Microsoft.com. But somebody may very well register Microsoft.com as a domain name. They'll put 2 O's instead of 1, or they'll put 2 T's instead of 1. People mistype. It's, we're human. You might accidentally press it twice by mistake, not realize it, hit enter. What'll happen is you'll go to the trick website, and it will look like Microsoft's website because the hackers who set this up made it look like Microsoft's site. And you'll go click around thinking you're on Microsoft's site, maybe you're downloading an update or a file or whatever, and you actually are going to download a virus. Same thing with banks. Bankofamerica.com, it might be BANKOOF America, and they'll add a letter or they'll change something slightly, and you'll go to log in, and you just gave them your login to your online bank information. Safe Screen, built into Windows 10, is designed to detect this, and it will come up with a big red box in the middle of your screen saying, warning, this is a known malicious website designed to steal your information. Stop. In order for that to work, every website you go to has to be fed through their filter, which ultimately means Microsoft has a list of every website you go to. Do you care if Microsoft knows that you go to Google and Facebook and Wikipedia and your bank and whatever else? Probably not. Some people do. Maybe you go to websites you don't want them to know about. You can turn that off in the privacy settings, but if you do, you lose security and protection. I strongly believe in leaving that online. If you, for example, don't use Microsoft's web browser, like say you use Google's Chrome, and you think, well, I'm going to turn off all the privacy features of Windows, or I'm going to secure it because I don't want Microsoft to know where I'm going. You do realize that Google keeps track of every website you go to in Google Chrome. Somebody has it. It's not a secret. Furthermore, your internet service provider, here I use, for example, Verizon for my internet service provider. By its very nature, Verizon has a list of every website I go to. It has to because I type them in, it goes through their routers. If you think Verizon or AT&T is not selling that information, they are. So, as far as I'm concerned, leave the security on. Who cares if Microsoft has it? That's my personal opinion. I respect that not everybody will agree with me on that. We're almost done here. I know that was a lot of talking. I know that's a lot of information. But I think a lot of people don't think about this stuff. And you don't have to become an expert in computer security. You really don't. But you just need to be aware that there are nefarious people on the internet who are constantly trying to steal all sorts of personal information. And a few best practices, a few safe things will help you stay safe. Make sure Windows is up to date. Now, once you've done this the first time, it will keep itself up to date. Make sure Windows Defender is up to date. Run a scan on your computer from time to time. Don't click on links in emails. If you get an email from your bank that says, click here to verify your information, don't ever click the link. Manually go to your bank's website. Don't ever click those links. Always go manually to the site. These are just sort of best practices to make sure that you stay safe and don't have your personal information stolen. Because there are some naughty people out there. All right, it is now installing a bunch of updates. This had a ton of updates. This was months and months old, which is why it's taking a while. Now, if you're doing this, of course, launch Windows Update, go walk the dog, go eat dinner, go have a cup of coffee. It can take 15 to 30 minutes to do the first round of updates. After the first round, it will do these in the background. So I'm going to trim the video here, and when this is done, we'll be back in a second and continue with updating this machine to get it ready for your use. And we're back. Actually, that didn't take very long. Where I cut the video and where this came back in was about 2 minutes. It took longer to download the updates than it did to install them. Intel i5 processor plus a solid state drive means this didn't take very long at all. I'm impressed. So I'm going to hit restart now. Whenever Windows Update wants a restart like that, don't go and do other stuff. Go ahead and let it reboot because it has to initialize the new files that it downloaded. Now this restart will take a little longer than normal restarts. See, it says getting Windows ready because it has to shift files around and do the updates that were part of the big Windows update. There was 2 big Windows patches in there. This might very well have been 6 months out of date in terms of the version of Windows that came on this. Windows 10 was released in July 29 of 2015. I'm filming this in July of 2016. Since that time, there have been several big updates to Windows 10 that have fixed all sorts of issues. They're always discovering issues. Keep in mind, Windows is installed, all the version of Windows is installed on 95% approximately of the world's personal computers. That makes it the world's biggest target for all the nefarious hackers out there. And so Microsoft is constantly having to find and plug any issues with it to make sure that your machine stays secure. Because of the size of the patch, this may take a minute. I will go ahead and cut the video again. We'll be right back. And we're back into Windows. So that whole process actually took less than 5 minutes, but I'm trimming it out anyway because who wants to watch progress bars and a percentage for 5 minutes? That would be silly. So we're back into Windows. Windows Update's been run. You're good to go, right? Hang on, not just yet. The first thing I want you to check is Windows Defender. And actually, it's right there at the top. If it's not at the top, you would just type in Windows Defender into search. Now, it says your PC is being monitored and protected, and it's green, which sounds good, but if you look in the middle of the screen, and you may not be able to see it, depending on the device you're watching, it says virus and spyware definitions created 283 days ago. That means the malware protection and the antivirus protection is 9-ish months out of date. Easy. Click the Update tab at the top, click Update Definitions. You only have to do this once. Once this is done, it will keep itself up to date on an ongoing basis. And if you hadn't done anything, within 2 or 3 days, maybe even 1 day, this would have updated itself. But why even start doing anything without an up-to-date machine? This doesn't take very long. It's already installing. It's downloaded them. Now it's just initializing the protection. And almost. There we go. So these definitions were created on July 21st at 3:11 p.m. and I am filming this on July 21st at 7:09 p.m. So these definitions are 2 minutes short of 4 hours old. That is how current Microsoft keeps this stuff. They literally have people 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, monitoring the internet and constantly updating protections against these things because there are millions of bad actors out there trying to do stuff. So we literally have, it's 3 hours and 58 minutes old since they updated it. That's pretty cool. Now we'll close that. The next thing we want to do is run Windows Update one more time. Wait a minute, we just did that, you said. Yes, I know, but sometimes it doesn't get every update the first time. Windows Update. Definition update, that's why it was out of date. That's why we always check that manually. What that message said is that during the big set of updates, it could not install the Windows Defender definition update. That's what we just did manually. That's why you should check Windows Defender. So it's doing one more check for Windows updates. Now this may come up with nothing, in which case, great. That part's done. It may come up and say, hey, where's the, nope, we're good. We're all done. Okay, so Windows is up to date. Windows Defender is good. You're fine. However, this machine has a NVIDIA GeForce GTX 940MX dedicated gaming graphics card. You should update the drivers, and they may have provided, is it there? Yes, it is. GeForce Experience is already installed. That would have been provided by Acer. Good job, Acer. What you want to do is you want to right-click on that and choose Check for Updates. Yes, NVIDIA's install application can run. It is now updating. What is GeForce Experience? If you are new to dedicated graphics cards, GeForce Experience is a program provided by NVIDIA. It provides more information about your graphics card, and it helps control when it runs versus when the integrated graphics works. It also will keep your drivers up to date in the future by popping up a notification saying there's updated drivers. What's a driver? If you don't know what a driver is, essentially it's a small software program that allows Windows to talk to your hardware. Your printer needs a driver, your DVD burner needs a driver, your graphics card needs a driver. You don't have to worry about most of them, but graphics drivers are a bit special and unique because graphics cards are still evolving rapidly and games are constantly coming out that are new and improving. The AMD and NVIDIA both come out with what's called updated drivers often every month. Sometimes more often, but usually every month, they come out with a new driver that contains fixes and updates for the latest games. You generally want to always have the latest driver installed. So we're going to hit close. We're going to come up to drivers. Now, it says your GeForce driver is up to date. No, it's not. This may or may not work on machines that come with a graphics card. Now, that says version 362.03. I don't believe that is the current version. We're going to open up Microsoft Edge, which is currently the only web browser on here, I suppose, besides Internet Explorer. And we're going to go to NVIDIA, and we're going to go to NVIDIA drivers. Yes, you should do this, even though that says it's up to date. Let me show you something. Now, I mentioned we have a 940MX. So when you go to NVIDIA's drivers downloads, it's GeForce and then 900M series, and then we have a 940MX, and we are running Windows 10 64-bit. How do I know we're running Windows 10 64-bit? We have 8 gigabytes of RAM. We have to be, because a 32-bit version of Windows could only access 4. If you have more than 4 gigs of RAM, you should definitely be on 64-bit. So we're going to hit search. And the latest version of the drivers is 368.81. Compare that to 362.03. They are way out of date. I don't know why this happens, but I've seen it happen enough to know it's not Acer's fault. I've seen NVIDIA graphics cards come in both desktops and laptops do this. So we're going to close GeForce Experience, and we're going to manually download these drivers for the first time. Agree and download, because you have to. Once you do this, you don't have to do this again. For whatever reason, the built-in version that comes with the computer doesn't want to download the newest drivers. I think the last 3 machines, I had an Acer Predator desktop that came with a GeForce card and a Lenovo Idea Center 700 that came with a GTX 960, a desktop computer. Same problem, had to download the drivers. Now when they're downloaded, just click Run. Do you want to run this? Yes, because I just clicked Run. That's a safety feature. Just accept the defaults here. It doesn't matter. Go ahead and close the web browser. Once this is running, you can close the web browser. You no longer need it. What this is doing is this is setting up the installation so it runs. Please wait. Somebody suggested that I have music in my videos. I haven't found any music I like that would not interfere with my speaking, but it occurs to me that driver installations and program installations usually never seem to have any music either, and it would make sense to have like a little jingle or something playing while they're running. Suggestion to software companies: put music when your software is installing. Checking system compatibility. There's really nothing to pick here other than to just basically accept the defaults and install. There's a variety of things that installs PhysX, which is a physics running engine, which you'll want. We have to agree and continue. Express. The only reason you choose custom, I'll go ahead and choose custom so you can see it. There's 3 things it's going to install. The graphics driver, which is much newer than what's currently installed. You can see that, well, you probably can't see it, but it shows the 2 different versions. GeForce Experience, which is already up to date, and then the physics system software. You can also choose to perform a clean installation if you want to wipe out all the existing settings. I'm not going to check it because it takes longer and it doesn't need it. It's a brand new machine. Game ready GeForce GTX 1060. It has nothing to do with this computer, but I am filming this on Thursday, July 21st. FedEx is supposed to be delivering my first 1060 card tomorrow morning on the 22nd. So I hope to play with that this weekend and get some videos posted next week, which you won't watch this. By the time you watch this video, that will have all happened already. Depending on my posting order, I might actually have the video posted of that before this video. I don't always post them in the order I film them in. Some videos get posted in 2 or 3 days, some videos a week or more, depending on the priority. Now it just says on the bottom, installing graphics driver. This just takes a minute or so. I mentioned that this computer has a dedicated graphics card. I am going to be doing game performance reviews on this. If you're still watching this and you're interested, I mentioned them at the beginning of the video. Those are linked in the description below. At least they will be when they're posted. I will say, it just blanks when it's updating the driver. I will say, don't expect miracles, because while it is a dedicated graphics card, it's a very basic one. I have reviewed laptops with higher end graphics cards, and I've actually got one sitting right over there. You can't see it, doesn't matter, that has an even higher one that I've ever tested before. That'll be my next machine after this probably. Spend more, get more is what it comes down to. And see, look, that didn't take very long. I hardly had a chance to talk before that was finished. We'll hit close. It opens the new version of GeForce Experience. So many fun things to do with a computer. There we go. We now have the GeForce Game Ready driver. And that was released on the 14th. That driver is only 7 days old. So they update these very, very regularly. I'll come up to my rig and you can see GeForce 940MX on the Intel i5-6200U processor. If you look below that, if you can read it, it says 16 gigabytes of RAM. There are videos posted as well, links in the description below. I added 8 gigabytes of RAM to this system. It came with 8. I put another 8 in, and I also installed a hard drive. Now, I will film that separately, but I'm going to go ahead and show you here so you don't have to bother watching the other video if you don't care. If you installed either a hard drive or a solid state drive to add additional storage to this machine, because it comes with a 256 gigabyte drive, but it does have an empty drive bay to install a drive. There is a video showing how to physically install that drive, but Windows won't see it. If you open up File Explorer in Windows and you go to this PC, all that's there is disk C showing 211 gigabytes free of 237, and then the DVD writer, which is right over here. Where's the hard drive? I put a 2 terabyte hard drive in this machine. It's there and Windows sees it, no worries. But here's what you have to do. You have to go to Start and type in Computer Management. Computer Management is a program that will help you partition your drives. On this side of the screen over here, look down under Storage and you want to see Disk Management. Click Disk Management. It takes just, well, that was pretty quick. And you'll see Disk 0 and Disk 1. There's the 2 terabyte drive. All you have to do, the big black bar is the 2 terabyte drive. The blue means those are partitioned. That's the solid state drive. Right click on the black, click New Simple Volume, click Next, accept the default to take all the available space, assign the following drive letter. I'm just going to accept E as the default. Hit Next. Format this volume with the following settings. Yes, I'm going to change the volume name from New Volume to Data, just because that's where I'm storing my data. You don't have to change it if you don't want to. Leave everything else otherwise checked as default. Hit Next and Finish. It takes 5-10 seconds. Oh, that was done. Close this program and look what we have back in File Explorer. Data E is set up with the 2 terabyte drive. That's all it takes to set up a drive in Windows. Easy enough. What else should you do to this machine? Honestly, everything past this point is personal preference. Installing web browsers, setting up multiple users if you do, that sort of thing. That is outside the scope of this video. We're done. I will be following this up with web browsers and such, but that's in the Windows Performance Review. Go check it out below. Like this video if you like it. Don't if you don't. Remember to subscribe to my channel. It's the big, huge red button down there. If it's not red because you've already subscribed, thank you very much. And if it is red, now's the time to click it because you know you want to. That's how you'll get updates to future videos whenever they post. Questions, comments, thoughts, feedback, suggestions. Did you like this video? Was it too long? Was it too short? Do you want to see something else? Put those in the comment section below the video description. And as always, if you like my channel, if you like my reviews, if you like my how-to guides, please support me by using whatever links are down in the video description below. They take you to various places, and they will certainly help me out. I thank you very much for your support. I will see you in the next video.